So a lot of people come down Broadway and think this is one big cemetery. It's the historic Broadway Cemetery Complex, but it's actually 7 different cemeteries.
Funny where we find the things we find, the people we meet, the things they love. Here on Broadway on Galveston Island, we met Kathleen Maca in a cemetery of all places.
There's some amount of beauty in some of the ruined cemeteries just because it really shows the passage of time. I'm fascinated with all of them. My husband says when we take road trips, if he sees one of those green signs that says cemetery with an arrow, he speeds up hoping I won't look up and see it.
From a very young age, Kathleen realized that cemeteries aren't just places where people are laid to rest. They're filled with stories of those people, where they came from, what was important to them, and who they left behind.
How did you get involved in coming to the cemeteries?
It seems like kind of a strange hobby. When I was at a family cemetery with my grandparents, my grandfather started walking me around when I was about 12 and telling me the stories behind the gravestones. This woman made the best biscuits in town, or this man owned the mercantile in town. So I learned really early that they weren't just names and dates, that there were actually stories and people behind them. So when I go into a cemetery, rather than seeing a bunch of stones, to me it's like a book with a bunch of stories in it if you slow down enough to read it.
Those stories don't always jump out at you unless you know what to look for. Kathleen says cemeteries, especially grave markers, are filled with artwork and symbolism. And it's those symbols that tell a person's story in a kind of code that often has to be interpreted.
Some of the symbolism, the anchor, although you see it sometimes on maritime tombstones, in this particular one it symbolizes hope because it anchors you in hope. The full rose means, full bloom means he was an adult when he died, and if you can see right above the rose, the stem is broken because he died. There's the open Bible with the candles and the Masonic compasses because he was a Mason. It's just an amazing stone.
Kathleen spent years studying and interpreting cemetery code. But if you don't want to go to all that trouble yourself, she's made it easy for you to hear the stories of the dearly departed. Not only did she literally write the book about Galveston's Broadway Cemetery, but she's happy to show you around and tell you the tales herself as the Tombstone tourist.
So welcome to Trinity Episcopal Cemetery. The first marker we're going to look at today is general Magruders. Basically, if somebody has like 6 or more people, they can just give me a call and I'll come down and meet them. It depends on what they're interested in. If I'm doing a tour for a DAR group or a DRT group, they're going to be more interested in the historical, so I'm going to show them the soldiers that they might be interested in. As you come down this way, I want you to look at this one that looks like the hands are shaking. You see that a lot on the older markers. So it means that the husband died first, so when the wife dies, he will welcome her into heaven. If it's adults and children, I'm going to focus more on cool pictures, or that sign that looks like a dollar sign isn't really a dollar sign, and tell them what it means. So you kind of have to just change up and wing it by what they're interested in, which is fine because there's something for everybody. So we're going to come over here and I'm going to show you how you can tell that things were buried over time. And that's the doorknob.
Oh my gosh. What do you get out of it when you see other people kind of taking in exactly what you do and they've got that excitement?
I love it. It fires me up because I think then they take that knowledge on and they might go explore a cemetery in the next town that they visit. Or they might read a little bit more about somebody whose marker they particularly took an interest in. And it kind of gets me all reinvigorated and I go off and research something else to share. So it keeps me fired up to do that. I'm going to show you something neat that you'll be able to relate to up here.
Kathleen Maca knows that not everybody likes to hang out in cemeteries, but she says it all depends on how you look at it.
If you're interested in art, that's what you would look for. If you're interested in history, you might look for the oldest grave, Civil War markers if you're into Civil War history. They're all different kinds of things. After 10 years, people decided they were too déclassé because they weren't very expensive. Whether it's just seeing history or wildflowers or kind of getting a snapshot of the community 100 years before they were in the community. I think everybody can find something to be interested in, and I hope they'll take that away and apply it somewhere else.